Good morning, dear participants and resource person of this 5-day FDP on heritage management, a business perspective, jointly organized by St. Joseph's College, Trichy, TamilNadu, and Atal Academy. We have been entering and existing out of exciting sessions for past 3 days, and now we are in the third day, the technical session 8, for which we have Dr. Aditya Prakash Kant. Sir is not new to us. We have witnessed his beautiful session yesterday. We have learned a lot of things from him, and we are really blessed to have him here for another session for management guidelines for cultural heritage sites. As he told during the end of his previous session, that is yesterday, he'll be giving greater insights on the cultural heritage sites and the managerial guidance towards it. Very happy to welcome you, sir. The platform is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to all the participants and the organizers. Thank you very much once again. And I will begin with sharing my slides. So is this visible to all of us?
Sir, is it visible, sir? It's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Please go.
Yeah. So today, as the topic suggests, that I'm going to discuss on the management guidelines for cultural heritage sites and monuments. So basically, if we connect from the previous lecture, in the previous lecture, we discussed about the tangible heritage and intangible heritage. And intangible heritage, we discussed about the basically artifacts. Here we'll be discussing about the monuments and sites. Okay. And therefore, the first prerequisite of the understanding and doing any kind of management of these monuments and cultural heritage sites is to understand the basics first. So we will tell you that means yesterday I discussed about the importance of attaching value and understanding the authenticity. Only then we can make any kind of management effort or conservation effort. So to put all these things in place, first we have to understand the two things: the value of the structure or the value of the site, and authenticity. If we understand the value and the authenticity, then all our purpose we want to know, we can do in an efficient way. So the first thing is that to understand, so build a understanding of the site or the monument, is that if we understand the value, the authenticity, the nature, the type of the structure, the type of the site, okay, and this can be achieved through research and investigation. So as I also said, that the authenticity is of paramount importance here to further any effort on the management part. Okay, and therefore, what do we understand by authenticity here? Like yesterday, we discussed about the authenticity of the artifacts, where we can distinguish between the fakes and forgeries and the original ones. Here, the authenticity, here the monument or the site is going nowhere. Okay, and there is no forgery can happen with these sites. So then what type of authenticity that we mean when we talk about the monuments and the heritage sites? Is the type, is the use of materials, is the meaning that it conveys? Okay, suppose there is a monument or there is a heritage site. So what was its original purpose? Do they still convey some sort of resemblance to the prior use? Okay, the type of the architecture. So if by say for example, some monuments over the period of time gets damaged and gets restored, so the restoration, the damage process and the restoration process is an ongoing process. So how much we can means retrofit, how much we can means alter the appearance. Okay, so if any there is any alteration of the appearance because of the constant restoration and the other activities, does the monument lose its appearance, lose its historicity? Here we need to protect the historicity. Here we need to protect the design. Here we need to protect the type. And that we want to know that what, suppose someone wants to visit Red Fort. So when someone visits to Red Fort, they should understand, means they should be they should not feel that means this structure is little new or some kind of alteration has happened which actually conflicts with the history. So we have to take care of all those things which can means retain the historical importance, retain the aesthetic importance, retain the physical means significance, all these things. And that we mean authenticity when we discuss about the monuments and heritage sites. So understanding the value and the authenticity, then we have to understand a little bit of meanings of what do we understand by the word monument. So if I discuss about the word monument, generally we all know that means which is built in someone's memory or something's memory is called monument. But we have here, there is a clear-cut definition given by the Act, and that is Ancient Monument and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act, the 1958. And it has also one amendment in 2010, but the definition also remains same even in the amendment. So I'll just like to highlight one thing here, is that the definition of antiquity, definition of monument, we cannot have our own interpretations based on our understanding. We have to follow verbatim as this act tells us, because if we understand means and if we interpret by our own understanding, it may have some legal implications. To avoid any kind of legal implications, we have to follow strictly the definition of antiquity and monument and the ancient sites verbatim as it is written in the these acts. So yesterday I also discussed about the Antiquity and Art Treasure Act 1972. So here the definition of monument and the ancient site comes from the act, that is Ancient Monument and Archaeological Sites and Remains. So if we look at the definition, what does it say? It tells us that any structure, erection or monument or any tumulus or place of interment or any cave, rock sculpture, inscription or monolith which is of historical, archaeological or artistic interest and which have been in existence for not less than 100 years. Now, I would like to highlight one thing here. When we discussed yesterday about the antiquity, the criteria for any object to become an antiquity is also that it should be over 100 years old, except the case of manuscript where over 75 years old is considered as antiquity. Otherwise, all the artifacts, all the objects which is over 100 years old is considered as antiquity. And here also the monuments, any structure, built heritage or any site which is over 100 years old can be considered as monument, and then it is listed with the Archaeological Survey of India. Okay, so it also tells us the remains of ancient monuments, so that also comes under the monument category. The site of ancient monument, okay, and the precinct is also considered as monument. like such land, portion of land adjoining the site of ancient monument as may be required for fencing or covering in or otherwise preserving such monument. The means of access to convenient inspection of an ancient monument. Okay, so I'll just quickly, I'll take you to the understanding of archaeological site and remains. It means any area which contains or is reasonably believed to contain ruins or relics of historical or archaeological importance which have been in existence for not less than 100 years old, and which includes such portion of land adjoining the area as may be required for fencing or covering in or otherwise preserving it. So these are the basic the definitions of the monument and the archaeological sites and remains. Now, why I want means to stress on the definition of these meanings is to means highlight here that look, there have been in past lot of means issues arised because of the lack of understanding and lack of clarity in these acts, and what kind of problems that means, what kind of issues that means arise. So I'll just discuss that. Sometimes when we say an antiquity has to be 100 years old, a monument which has to be 100 years old, how will we distinguish between an antiquity and a monument? This is a big challenge. This is a big challenge. How will we differentiate, distinguish between a monument and an antiquity? Suppose when there is an individual portable artifact, we can safely say, okay, this is antiquity, this cannot be a monument. This argument is valid. But what about the portion of a monument that has fallen off from the main structure? Suppose there is a wooden monument and there are many panels have been fixed in the monument and some panels have come off. Will we still consider as monument or will we consider as artifact? There is, suppose there is concrete structure and a significant portion or decorative portion has fallen off, and if we cannot restore it and place it back on its original place, what will we consider? Will we consider as a monument or will we consider as an antiquity? This is not the confusion that only we have. This is the confusion that is existing since long, since the day these acts were prepared. And it also confused many archaeology officers. And this is not to tell you that there is not understanding of these terms. I'm telling you there is not very clearly written where we can distinguish between an antiquity and a monument. Then what is happening because of that? What happened in the past? To prepare any kind of management guidelines, first we have to do the inventorying of the monuments and sites. We have to first list them, and we have to list them in certain priority, okay, in certain categories, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and then we can build up management guidelines to take care of which is very vulnerable to address first, which is robust so we can look after, with just the proper upkeeping will do, which is about to fall, we have to just rush there and do something. Okay, so the confusion started because of that. What happened that the Archaeological Survey of India prepared a long list of all the monuments and sites. Okay, but later on, when all the monuments on the list was again surveyed, audited, there was many discrepancy occurred. The number of monuments are less, but the list is showing a lot of monuments. Why this happened? The one reason was, and that was the main reason, is that the many fallen pieces from the main structure was also considered as monument and listed as monument. So this was a big issue, that suppose some structure is fallen, some portion is fallen, and when it could not be placed back on its original place, this was also listed as a monument. And there was a little huge confusion in the proper listing. Whenever the Archaeological Survey of India, say for example, prepare a list and declare any structure as monument, there is a process of notification releasing in the Gazette. Their process of notification, and first they declare that this structure comes under the category of monument, and then they publish a written notification, and to that effect, the building or any structure or place becomes a monument. Now, also what happened in there was a lot of problems in the list. One is that I stated that many fallen pieces, small pieces were also listed as monuments. The other thing is that some monuments, some structures were identified for as monument. They were declared, but the notification was not issued. They were declared as monument, but the notification was not issued. So what happened that in the list, those monuments are existing, but there is no written document which can support that, yeah, this we can consider as monument, because to tell some structure as monument, there has to be certain means a notification. Okay, only then means it will come under the protected site, and government can have the power to restrict the access. Okay, otherwise if there is no notification, okay, then what will happen? There will be a lot of encroachment. So like, especially like if you take the case of India, many monuments and sites you will see slowly falling due to the excess encroachment. So this is one of the issues that in past that it was declared, but it was not notified. And when the audit happened, then it was realized that, okay, these are the problems existing. Then, there are some sites and monuments which are living monuments. What do we mean by living monuments? The structure is over 100 years old. Structure is over 100 years old, but the owner is still residing there. If the owner is still residing there, then who will be the authority of the monument? So in that case, when the government issues a notification, government has to approach the owner for consultation, and after the consultation with the party, with the owner, then the structure can be notified, declared and notified as a monument, and the government of India can have some means stake, means can be part of the, take the ownership, joint ownership. So there are some structures, monuments, which are under joint ownership, where is the existing owner is also owner, and the government of India is also owner. But what happened in past, in some places, that the government of India did not undergone the process of consultation and declared the structure as monument and issues the notification. And then we had some court cases as well. So we have to understand what are the problems, if we understand, if we read the acts, therefore the reading the acts becomes very important whenever we have to progress further for doing any kind, preparing any kind of management guidelines. We have to resolve lot of issues. Then the government of India now wants to address all the issues, to iron out all these problems and streamline whatever the problems existed. Okay. So the first part of the management is to do the proper recording, proper documentation. Proper documentation becomes very, very vital. If we want to prepare a list, the preparation of list becomes very important. And when we prepare a list, we have to also take care of the conflicting issues and those issues where there is no clarity given by these kind of acts. Say, for example, would you say an individual structure as a monument, or would you say the entire precinct as a monument? How will we construe? Suppose the Red Fort is a monument. If we say Red Fort as a monument, the individual structures, the independent structure inside the premises, will not that be counted as monument? What we should do? There are many structures which have its own importance in Red Fort. Say, for example, Red Fort, New Delhi. I have worked for the in Red Fort to fulfill all the parameters of UNESCO to make the Red Fort as World Heritage Sites. And so the Red Fort in 2007 gained the status of World Heritage Site by UNESCO. So we worked in 2006 in fulfilling all those parameters required for a site to come under the World Heritage Site category. So we witnessed there are a lot of issues related that, because when the site is developed or means gained the World Heritage status, then this entire site development plan starts. So now we had the Nawat Khana, we had the Chhatta Bazaar, we had Diwane Am, we had Diwane Khas, we had Rang Mahal, we had the Hammam, Musamman Burj. We had many independent structures, but individual structures had the equal importance. So what would we, if we prepare the list, what will we do? These kind of, so here, like say for example, in Red Fort, we consider Red Fort as one monument. But similarly, there is another issue in in New Delhi, Mehrauli Archaeological Park. Now, Mehrauli Archaeological Park is not confined in a wall, and it has many structures. So INTAC is given the duty of listing all those monuments as individual monuments. So these things can be streamlined once there is an amendment, when these kind of all things will be highlighted and will be discussed. Only then we can resolve all these issues, which can help us in the management practice. So the recording becomes very vital as the first step of management. And what do we mean by recording? The recording of to capture the information which describes the physical configuration, condition, and the use of monuments, group of buildings, sites, and the essential process of conservation. Recording of monuments also should include the intangible evidence, and it should become the part of that. The tangible, we always document the tangible part, but we have to also document the intangible part, like some stories, the local people, the communities know some stories about that. That also has to be documented, has to be brought in the recording to have a complete understanding of the heritage place here and its value, so that we can have the complete value recorded of a particular site. So what are the reasons for recording? The recording of the cultural heritage is essential to acquire the knowledge in order to advance the understanding of cultural heritage, its values and evolution. To promote the interest and involvement of the people in preservation of heritage through dissemination recorded information, to permit informed management and control of construction works. So basically recording, we can say recording and we can also say documentation, these two words synonymous to each other. So recording actually also helps to understand, to do any kind of change that we have to, suppose any kind of modification has to happen at the later period. A base document is available to us, which can tell us the existing state of a monument or heritage site. What do I mean by that? In 2006, when we were working to fulfill the parameters for UNESCO at Red Fort, how will we understand what to be done, what to record, how to record, what are the later alterations, what are the later modifications? Because the Red Fort was constructed in 1600 something, 50s, 1656. Now, after the Mughals, Britishers also made many modifications, many alterations. So unless we have some kind of record, how will we, if we have to do any kind of reparation or modifications? Modification is not to alter the original integrity of the site, but to may help make it stable so that it can last for very long. So what we did in Red Fort, we read the archaeological survey of India's records written by the Britishers. So we could know many places that there was a railing here. Now there is no railing. Britishers removed railing. Then there's some other, after independence, further there's some alteration happened, some modification, some retrofitting and some restoration happened. So every process of restoration, every process of alteration and modification has to be recorded. So if suppose like in 2025, I have to make some, because I'll tell you, like heritage sites and monuments, if you every year you have some kind of damage, every year you have to go for restoration. And not only you have to address this damage, you have to also evolve this site. for tourism purposes. Suppose there are many monuments and sites which are unprotected. But if government wants to develop a particular site to also highlight its historical importance, or to also generate the revenue and to promote the tourism, it has to do some kind of modifications to the places, to the precincts, to build some, to advance facilities, all things. So if you have to develop a site, first and foremost thing that you have to have a very good recording of all the activities at all the stages. This is a very prerequisite of any management effort. So in the management guidelines, the recording becomes very vital. And as we discussed that the recording should be undertaken as such an appropriate level, okay, which retains the integrity, which can help, means there should be no ambiguity. Everything has to be recorded in an ethical way, okay, with a certain professional way, with certain professional standard. So this whatever means is listed here is that the proper information helps in identification, understanding, interpretation, and presentation of heritage. The presentation also becomes very important. Interpretation and presentations, many times as the site is evolved, the interpretation and presentation changes. So how we will make the change in interpretation and presentation is through the proper recordings, proper understanding of the site, proper identification of the site. We can achieve the interpretation, means relevant interpretation to the particular means period. Every period needs its own means interpretation. So this record also becomes like a permanent record, and it also helps. Suppose some kind of like disaster happen, some kind of earthquake or any disaster happens, and certain sections fall off. So then these documents becomes the base where we can fall back to look, and we can reconstruct something again. So for any reconstruction, say for example Bamya Buddha. Now Bamya Buddha was exploded with dynamite in 2001, but after that, since Bamya Buddha was very well recorded, after that UNESCO took some initiative to further record and to further do some sort of restoration, some sort of revitalization of the site in consultation with the then Afghanistan government. And Archaeological Survey of India also took part of that initiative to revive and rejuvenate the site. So all this, if you want to make a digital 3D model, how will you build the 3D model if you don't have the existing, means the everything recorded very properly? That for that purpose, the recording becomes very important. Okay. Yeah. Now, what should be the content of the record? The content of the record should be like the name of the building in the individual building, individual group or group of buildings, their unique reference number, date of compilation of the record, name of the recording, organizations, cross references, records, reports, photographic documentation, graphic documentation, where we means draw the picture and mark all the things, condition assessment, environmental records, bibliographic information. These all constitute the content of the record. The location and extent of monuments, maps, aerial photographs. In the rural areas, a map reference or triangulation to know points may be the only methods available. I'll just tell you a little bit about the triangulation method. Is that, just give me 1 minute. I will just explain a little bit about the triangulation method. Sometime what happens that the it becomes very difficult to map a certain place and to also see the distance and to measure the size of a site. So what generally is done is measured by the triangulation method. And the triangulation method is that, suppose this is the road, okay, this is the road where the we have access, and now here is the, like, say for example, like we have the river or something, river or forest, and then we have somewhere here is the archaeological site. Here is the archaeological site, okay, and we want to measure the distance here to here, okay. So what is the triangulation method is that we can take one, and with the laser we will beam the laser in certain angle, and we will also beam the laser in certain angle. So we know this distance, we know this angle, suppose 30 degree or 45 degree, 30 degree, this is like 30 degree. So if we know the angle, if we know this distance, we can measure this distance. We can measure this distance, and we can say, okay, this is this much far from here. This site is this much far from here. So this is some kind of triangulation method by which means the maps and references are prepared for some very difficult areas where the accessibility is very difficult. So these triangulation methods actually help in means calculating the distance, in mapping the site. So lot of several triangulations can be done, and we can measure the distance and the size of the place. Now, so if we just have a quickly look at the content of the record, the type, form, and the dimensions of the building, monument or site, the interior and exterior characteristics as appropriate of the monument, group of buildings or site, the nature, quality, culture, artistic and scientific significance of the heritage, its component, and the cultural, artistic, and scientific significance, the materials constitute parts and constructions, decorations, ornament, inscriptions, services, fittings, and machinery, and all the ancillary structures, the gardens, landscapes, the cultural, topographical, and natural features of site. So these all constitute the content of the record. So anyone who wants to, any firm who wants to do this recording should look into these parameters. Okay, you have to capture all these things, and then you can compile a good record. Okay, and many more things like the traditional methodology, the modern methodology adopted in the construction and in the maintenance. Okay, the origin, the ownership, authorship. Okay, then the subsequent history of uses, like in the Mughal period, what was its use in the Red Fort in British during British time. The Red Fort was used as cantonment, as the army cantonment. So we have many structures built in the later period which served as the army cantonment. So the uses also change after age. So we have to have a complete record of all those, the uses, the previous uses, all the decorative alterations. Like say for example, in Hammam, in Red Fort Hammam, we had lot of the glasses, lot of glasses to give a mirror look. Now most of the glasses have disappeared and they have not been replaced. So we should have understanding of all the decorative alterations, what happened. Many places where you'll see the structures have inlays with precious, semi-precious stones. Many sort of, so wherever the a block has fallen off, so the other block, plain block, has put back. All these things we need to document in the recording, in our documentation. All these like history of management, maintenance and repairs that we discussed. Then measured drawings. The drawings also have to be there. All sort of the drawings, the elevations. Here architect comes into their role. Windows, elevations, whatever. Then the problem identification. We have to also identify the problems existing in the site. What kind of defects are there? Prepare the legend of all defects. Legend means in the problem identification, what generally we do is that we list all the type of problems. Is the physical problem, is the alteration due to some chemical alteration, it is due to the alteration happened due to pollution, some dust, dirt, or some bird accretion, or some mold growth, some algal growth, some growth of lichens, some bat related problems. In monuments and heritage sites, you'll find several whole host of problems. So what we do is that we prepare all the list of the problems, and then we prepare the documentation. And we have to also do the diagnosis of the decay mechanism, assessment of the strength of the materials and the structural distress. Okay, so there are many technologies we also adopt in identifying the structural problems, identifying how stable the building is, how stable the monument is. Now, before coming to tourism and visitor management, which is next part, once the recording part is over, I'll just tell you one thing, that to develop and to prepare the management guidelines, we have to also look into the revenue generation model. Revenue generation model. And what should be the revenue generation model for the heritage sites and the monuments? Today, if we look at that, most of the heritage sites and monuments, I can safely place in two categories. One is the ticketed monument and one is the non-ticketed monument. I'll just write here. So I will classify the monument and heritage sites in two categories. Ticketed sites and unticketed sites. Now, we have to understand that we have to also promote the sites to have some revenue generation. Now, how can we generate the revenue from the monuments and from the heritage sites? that should be also one of the part of the management guidelines. The revenue generation. So sometimes, like for the ticketed sites, it is the ticket. Apart from ticket, the other model of revenue generation is through photography, through videography, through film shootings, through the creation of the light and sound shows. So you have the light and sound shows, photography, you charge for photography, you charge for videography, for film shootings, you allow the heritage sites. If we like, it means if we promote some heritage site, we should allow for certain events to take place. Suppose some private parties wants to hire a place for the wedding purpose or to celebrate some event. So the revenue can be generated from those events, from allowing these kind of activities to happen within certain restrictions, allowing the public to celebrate some functions or events. The authorities has to be very careful. That means it has to have with certain restrictions, certain limitations, so that there is no damage with the integrity of the site. There is no problem occurs later with the integrity and authenticity of the sites. But then these are the some of the ways by which the revenue can be generated. Then many I'll tell you, the government of India also do the auctioning of grass, through the auctioning of, because the heritage sites are very large. So every means now and then you grow grass very big, and then you have to also chop the grass every time, so to maintain this site. So the grass also, the amount of grass also becomes huge, and government also do the auctioning of the grass. Plus government also does the auctioning of fruits. If you have like, so these are the some of the ways of, if someone wants to develop a heritage site, and heritage site is big, grow some trees who can bear the fruits, so that the fruits can also be auctioned, sold, to gain some revenue. Because we have to identify the revenue generation model, through which the sites can be sustained, sites can be managed. Because I'll tell you, like at the moment what happens, most of the site, the government of India gives the funding, but is the funding sufficient enough to take care of all the monuments? No. Therefore, where will the fund come from? Then we have to look for the various ways by which the funds can be generated. So these are some of the ways that the funds can be generated. Plus, I'll tell you that the many sites here in India are unprotected. And because of the sites are unprotected, what happens that there is no visitors, the sites are not developed. And you know why? One of the, even that some of the ticketed sites, some of the ticketed heritage sites are very less visited, visited. The footfall is very less. What could be the reason? One is the awareness, that we can understand awareness towards heritage is relatively low. But there is also one thing, and that is the safety and security on the site. Safety and security. So safety and security, if we provide the ample safety and security of the site, then we can build the confidence in visitor to go and enjoy on those sites. We can have more footfalls, if we ensure the safety and security of for the visitors. And let me tell you also one thing, that in India we are falling much behind in giving the proper safety and security. When I talk about the safety and security, what do I mean? Safety and security of two things: safety and security of the public, the visitors, and safety and security of the monument. Because if we don't provide safety and security to the monument, then what will result is the encroachment, is the demolition, is the alteration in the existing shape, structure, is the change to completely change in its use. Okay. And also Government of India is lagging in leveraging the information technology. So if you look at like the English heritage, say for example in the UK, they have listed in such a good way, and also they have used the latest technologies. They have used a lot of information technology. We have not utilized, we have not leveraged information technology much for the benefit of in the development of heritage sites and monuments. Say for example, I'll just tell you, like if we monitor the sites using the IT, the government has now many of the monuments that you don't have to go there and buy tickets. You can buy the electronic tickets, e-tickets. You can also have a lot of information available on their websites. But still, how many? It is only the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, or few more means popular sites that the public visit. What about the others, the thousands of sites that we have in India, which are unprotected, which deserves to be protected, which deserves to be promoted for the also tourism, like in Europe, because of the lockdown, many countries are suffering badly. And why the many countries are suffering badly? Like France, Italy, Greece, and many other countries, because they prominently their economy is dependent on tourism. Many countries in the world prominently depends on tourism. So during the lockdown for this entire year or more, the revenue generation totally means completely stopped. So what is indicates is that if they can manage, we can also build and develop promote our sites. Then over tourism is the byproduct that has to be taken care of, but we must promote our sites, and by promoting our sites we can also establish the safety and security of the sites. Otherwise, slowly the sites will vanish, unprotected sites will vanish. I'll just give one example here. There was one audit conducted by the some independent audit agency. They found that the Government of India's the list of monuments, protected monuments, list of protected monuments, 92 monuments are missing. Now, how these 92 monuments can be missing? How the 92 monuments can be missing in the list, and those have been notified, declared and notified through the government notification that these are the protected sites, and 92 sites, artifacts we can understand, someone can steal, smuggle. What happened to those 92 sites, 92 monuments? How did they disappear? Because there was no safety and security in place. What happened that some of the protected monuments, which are in a very constricted place, okay, so like there are like 15 buildings or 15 means houses, and between the 15 houses there is one protected monument. So the local people just retained the facade of the monument and changed completely the entire portion and made house. And slowly they also changed the facade. So you see the steps. The step is, and I have seen some of the monuments, you know, between like the 40-50 houses, there is a protected monument. No one knows about that. Even the government official doesn't visit. They don't visit those places. So because of the means little bit of negligence, what happens that the facade is there, the front piece is there, so that anyone comes, so look at that, okay, the facade is there, means the monument is there. But the behind portion, the other portion, have been modified, have been reconstructed with the modern RCC structure and made house completely. And slowly they also remove the facade. Now entire structure is there and the protected monument is just gone. So that there was an audit in 2015, and it was found that there's a list from the list of Government of India, 92 protected monuments are missing. So we should be very careful about that, and that is why the safety and security of the site is paramount, very essential. And we have to also leverage from the information technology. So now the Government of India is doing a lot today, you know, these days. Government of India has collaborated with Google to map the entire area or entire protected site or the monument with the 360 degree photography. So Government of India has collaborated with Google, okay, so that the Google will also prepare the map. Google will also take the 360 degree photographs, videos, to have a proper record. And Government of India has also collaborated with ISRO to station the satellite cameras hovering over the monuments and heritage sites, so that the encroachment, because of the population pressure, you will see a lot of encroachments, and because of the rampant encroachment and no fear of any penalty or punishment, slowly things disappear. I'll just take 1 minute, please. Yes. So Government of India nowadays, they have collaborated with Google, they have collaborated with ISRO to station the satellite cameras on the over the heritage sites and all that, do all those remote sensings, and various type of activities now are happening. So we can see some kind of good progress in the direction, and using the information technology, so certainly the unprotected sites and protected sites can be monitored from a remote location also. You don't have to be there, means on the site. You can monitor remotely also. So therefore these things, and let me tell you one thing, once safety and security is ensured, why I'm stressing here, because once safety and security is ensured for the monument, for the heritage sites, and for the public, it will convert the unprotected sites, many unprotected sites, into protected sites. So this is the benefit, that it will convert many unprotected sites to protected sites. And because of this conversion, what will happen? Many of the unticketed sites will get converted into the ticketed sites, and we can definitely build more revenues. Many of the unticketed sites will also get converted into the ticketed sites, and so therefore the security and safety is very important. Then looking at the tourism and the visitor management. So many sites can be developed for various purposes, okay, and the various of like regions such as here listed here is that unprecedented interest among the national for education. Many visitors come to the site for education, information, for pilgrimage, for recreation, for entertainment. How and what facilities we should provide to cater their needs, so that the visitors, when they come with their interest, like education interest, for information, for pilgrimage, for recreation, for entertainment, they can get that. So we need to build some kind of facilities on those sites which can boost also the tourism. So, but we have to also look at the carrying capacity, as we know that the over tourism can dampen the entire effort, okay, can be very, very problematic, especially for the local community. Carrying capacity, so we must, and when something is overused, overutilized, so that becomes problematic. So we have to, as a management guidelines, we have to look into the carrying capacity of heritage sites. I'll just give you one example of the Forbidden City in Palace Museum, Beijing, Palace Museum Beijing in China. This is also called as Forbidden City. Forbidden City. This is also called as Forbidden City. So, this is very huge heritage site in which 900 structures are there. 900 structures are there in such a large site. What happens? Every day they had 80,000 footfalls, and because of the 80,000 footfalls, there was a great stress on the resources, and therefore they cut down from 80,000 to 40,000. So you have to take a prior permission, prior approval, or you have to buy a ticket prior, and then you can visit. So you have to make a plan, and then you can visit. You cannot just visit any day you want. These are some of the ways by which the visitors' access can be controlled. One thing also I'll tell you, in the case of Ajanta, Ajanta has a series of like 30 caves, and you know what? The access to those caves, so all those caves are in one line. All those caves are in one line. So the access of those caves are from two sides. either the cave number 29, 30, sorry, cave number 30 and cave number 1. So most of the, and since most important cave is cave number 1. So what happens, most of the visitors enter in one go in the cave number 1. Now in Ajanta, as I showed you yesterday in yesterday's one of the slide, Ajanta has very beautiful paintings, very beautiful paintings. Now in one time, in any particular time, any particular moment, if hundreds of visitors enter into that cave, that may lead to some kind of chaos. And not only chaos, I'll tell you, because the individuals also breathe, and because of the breathing, they exhale carbon dioxide gas. And because of the excessive carbon dioxide gas, it is also harmful for the visitors. And more importantly, some of the pigments, some of the painting pigments get altered when it comes with contact with excess of carbon dioxide gas. And therefore, to control the access, control the visitors means the movement, they constructed, the Archaeological Survey of India constructed a small bridge, a small walkway, a small bridge, which from if the visitors walk through the bridge, they come to the cave number 9 and 10. Cave number 9 and 10. So what happens now? You have dispersed the entry points so that at any point of time, the hundreds of visitors not entering into the caves. Okay. So these are some of the ways by which you can make a walkway, you can make a gangway, some kind of bridge. You can make different entry points so that you can disperse the crowd, so the crowds are not accumulated at one place. Plus you can make some kind of rules, like 40 persons can enter at one point on time, and one like 10 goes out, then another 10 can come in. These comments, you have to regulate the number of visitors, and therefore the carrying capacity of a heritage site becomes very, very important. Carrying capacity doesn't mean only about the carbon dioxide gas and the number of visitors. It also means that if the visitors are much more than the local public, it will consume all the resources which the community can use, and the local community is on the receiving end. So we have to look on all those things, how best way we can handle the carrying capacity of heritage site. And this is also one of the important part of the guidelines. So we have discussed this carrying capacity, and this can be read. I'll just go ahead. Yeah. Now the facilities, what kind of facilities you want to develop? So facilities like parking that allows for sufficient number of vehicles. You have to also build toilets. You have to also build cloakrooms, the portable drinking water, audio guide facilities, ticketing booths, souvenirs, souvenir counters, etc. And it should be located in such a manner so that the access is easy. It should be easily accessible when someone enters to a monument or a heritage site. Then for the heritage sites, we also want, as a part of the management guidelines, we have to have information and interpretation center. So interpretation or information center should be designed and located in such a way that do not disturb in any manner with the environment and setting of the monument. And therefore it is also very important to, if you want to construct an information center, either you can construct on the outside of the premises, or you can construct in the inside of the premises. Try to use the compatible material, try to use the similar materials which is present in the heritage site. It will give a heritage look. It will give a it will not become outlandish to the premises. Okay, because if something is very old, and in front of that if we construct a very a modern thing, it will look at like a very outlandish structure. So the materials for the building of this information and interpretation center should be also which is compatible and which is in sync with the other structures of the premises. Then what should be the content in the interpretation center? The guidebooks, the pamphlets indicating a monument's history, its architecture and planning, various do's and don'ts for the visitors. Then the appropriate medium, technology, innovative methods of interpretations, like the audio video guides in the multiple languages and all the informations, so that can be placed in the information and interpretation center. Then the visitors approach, how we can facilitate visitors. Okay, and as I discussed about the circulation of visitors, also be worked out in such a way that can facilitate a easy smooth movement around the monument or around the heritage site. And we can also provide the optimum accessibility, causing the least hindrance. And also obviously we have to take care of the influx of high visitors if the site is very, very popular. Then we have to also provide the signages. So adequate signages should be there, okay, at access point, at entry points, and many various sections, and at many facilities near the monument, near the heritage site. And signages should contain do's and don'ts. Signages should contain the historical importance. Signages should contain a scientific significance or any other thing that a visitor should know, that the visitor should take care of. That has to be placed very properly, and it has to be visible. It should sign. Many times what happens, the signages are not visible. In front of the signage there are tree grown, the tree branches falling on in the front of the signages. So we have to trim the tree branch so that the signages are visible, or we have to place the signage where there is no obstruction, there is no hindrance in the visibility. So the main problem is that in many sites you will see the signage is indistinct. You will not see where the signages are. So we have to be very, very careful about that. Then the illumination of a monument and illumination of a site. So it depends on the site and the structure, but we have to ensure that the illumination is such that it attracts the visitor, it benefits the visitor to read or to see all the details, everything. And illumination also becomes important from the safety and security, so the every portion is well lit. In the daytime, maximum the daylight can be used to all places. Wherever the daylight cannot be used, the place has to be illuminated. Okay, that also adds safety. But then the illumination should be done in such a way so that the light does not attract lot of dust, lot of insects, because insect biting also means damages the fabric of the site. So we should also take care of the choosing in the proper light, which means which does not become a problem itself. So illumination, I have discussed it. Then we have to also look for the public-private partnership in heritage conservation and management. What do I mean when we talked about the revenue generation? The public-private partnership can be fostered. It will add a lot of revenues. It will build also good facilities. It will also build good maintenance. Say for example, there was a lot of furor when the Dalmia group was given a portion of the Red Fort, New Delhi, to take care of for the maintenance activities. So there was a lot of furor happened in the means the heritage circle. That means how come the private means the government of India is means allowing the private parties for the maintenance of the means heritage sites. But if we look from the revenue generation, if we look from the also maintenance, government cannot do everything. So if we allow the private parties also in this joint means effort, certainly the sites will improve and we can also promote. It is not, see, all these revenue generation activities, this is very much required, because the site has to evolve. Site has to evolve and it has to become efficient. And how it will become efficient? We have to also bring in the private players with certain restrictions. We are not allowing that the private players can means do anything whatever they want to do with the fabric of the structure or the fabric of the site. They cannot do that. Within certain limitations, certain restrictions, we need to allow the private parties to play their role to in the effort of maintaining the heritage sites and in its promotion and development. Also, I'll tell you also, I'll just like to highlight one thing here is that, look, the government funding is not that appropriate, in maintaining all the protected, unprotected sites. And only some of the sites, the World Heritage sites, which means fetch a lot of funding, and from those fundings, the other smaller monuments and sites are means managed. Okay, but there is also one problem. The government of India will give the funding only when the requirement of funding is raised. So there was an audit which said that we also need to properly raise the requirement. And how will we raise the requirement of funds? There are many sites, big sites. How will we ask for money? We need to assess. So assessment of the requirement of funding is also lacking. A proper assessment of funding, of the requirement of funding, how much I require, for what purpose I require, what will I achieve if I get this funding, what I can cover, what I cannot cover, has to be clearly assessed. If we do the proper assessment of the requirement of funding, we can raise the request for funding and the government may allocate. So the audit said that the requirement is also, the requirement for funding is also not raised properly. And that is why government cannot give the funding if it doesn't know means of what to fund, for what purpose to fund, and how much to fund. And that's why we need to properly assess the requirement. Okay, only then we can develop and promote the heritage sites. Then for the revenue generation, the assessment of revenue means the requirement is also very important. Yeah. So and also I just want to highlight one thing also here. When the private public partnership in the heritage conservation and management has to happen, we have to also give certain benefits to the private investors. If we do not give certain benefits to the private investors, why the private investors will invest in these activities? They have the whole host of the sectors where they can invest and fetch a lot of money. They're very clear cut for the investors. So they invest certain amount and they can get this much interest in 5 years or 10 years, something like that. How we can approach to the private parties and bring them to invest for the development of heritage sites? We need to also give certain benefits. So one of the benefits that can be suggested is that we have to give, suppose someone wants to donate, some private party wants to donate, so those donations has to be like a tax-free donations. Some, if the private party invests something, that has to be, if the from the benefit, from the profit, is tax has to be means applied. So if we lower the tax rate, so these are the some of the things better means the commerce person can means tell us about the how the tax are calculated, how the means this kind of model be more efficient and effective. Okay, I'm just highlighting means these are the some of the ways by which the public private partnership can be fostered, can be bolstered. Then community participation is also become very important. Local communities, if we bring them as a stakeholders, so they will realize the importance of the heritage. They will also feel empowered. They will also get the employment opportunities. They will also appreciate the government on the other one, the NGOs and everyone's effort, what they are doing, and they will not put hindrances. So the community participation also becomes very important. Okay, so I will skip here. So it's very important that we bring community in the decision making processes, all those management and the development of heritage sites, you know, the community participation, the involvement of the local people, the locality becomes very, very important. And we have to also take care of the access for differently abled persons, how they can access to the sites. So whenever we build any management guidelines for to develop a heritage site, we have to also take care of the access of the differently abled, especially abled persons. And we may have to all means budget more funds for means creating the facilities for the differently abled persons, so that they can also access to the maximum places which anyone can access. Okay, we have to build visitors amenities. We have to build means whole host of, I'll just share some of the things right now. Okay, so we have to take care of the differently able persons access also. Yeah. And then new interventions within a monument, because as I told that the monument is not a very means a frozen place, it's also a dynamic place. And the monument, when also a heritage site which has to survive for years and years and decades and decades and centuries, obviously the evolution becomes a part of the process, the development becomes a part of the process. So the further evolution and the development, facilities, advancement, everything happens. So that also has to be properly framed, which way the development can happen, what is the scope, where are the restrictions, which cannot be developed, which cannot be just made stable and means cannot means altered or changed. Okay, so new interventions will be there in the monument or heritage sites, but we have to be means take care of, we have to properly lay out the in guidelines what to evolve means advance, what not to do, what to do, what not to do, and we can prepare the list. Okay, so any such new intervention within around the monument should be done with a great care and in a way that does not reduce its significance as well as values of its environment. For physical interventions to the environment within or around a monument, preference should be given to materials that are compatible with the historical building fabric or the vernacular, which reflect the building characteristics and the region to which the monuments belongs to. Okay, so I will just pass it here for reading. Then, as a part of the management guidelines, we have to also take care of the disaster management, and that has to be properly, very properly written and taken care of. And now in the disaster management, we have to first assess the probable disaster. Okay, so we have to first understand what kind of disaster can happen. We have to understand the threats, okay, and vulnerability and the threats, risks. And then what we can do is that we can prepare a mitigation, the disaster mitigation plan, disaster response plan, and disaster recovery plan. So disaster mitigation is the first step where we understand the risks and the threats. So we do something, we do means our act in such a way that we can mitigate if the disaster has to, suppose there is earthquake has to happen, means we have no control over it, and in 30 seconds it can level the building, it can level the entire site. At least we should be able to prepare and to be ready in such a way so that the damage is minimum, and that we can means prepare in the disaster mitigation plan. Now if the disaster has happened, immediately what we can do, we should have a very properly written disaster response plan. Now the disaster has taken place and immediately we have to address, we have to rush to means save whatever we can. We should have a very properly written disaster response plan. And once everything is settled, then we should have a disaster recovery plan. So in the management guidelines, the disaster management plan is very vital. So generally what I would like to suggest is the three plans in the disaster management plan. One is the disaster mitigation plan, where we identify the risks and the vulnerability to threats. Second is the disaster response plan, if the disaster happens and immediately what means someone means can do. And once everything is settled, then the disaster recovery plan. Okay, so this all, and with this I will stop. Okay, I'll just one thing, and whenever we say that, whenever we have to discuss about the alteration or modifications or any intervention, we always go by the term minimum intervention. So minimum intervention should be the policy of any planning effort, any conservation effort. Okay, then conservation management plan can also become should also become as integral plan of the site management plan. Okay, then we have to also look for some conflicting values, how best we can address the conflicting values. Okay, then one thing, just these 2-3 the slides that I have, that the list of World Heritage in danger. Suppose some structure or some heritage site which is very, very prone to some serious threat. Okay, so for that there is a World Heritage Convention 1972. It has clearly laid out the procedure what to do. Suppose like how we can list a monument or a structure or site in the category of World Heritage Site in danger. So the first requirement is that that heritage site has to be in the World Heritage List. If it is in World Heritage List, what kind of threats or danger that the structure is subjected to? Okay, so and the major operation, what major operations that are necessary for the conservation of property. Okay, and after assessing all that, have the community, have the authority accessed this the UNESCO authority, requested the UNESCO authority to look into those World Heritage sites and do something for the most dangerous sites. Okay, what kind of potential danger? The potential danger is like the modification or judicial status of the property, diminishing the degree of its protection. When the protection is in danger, you cannot protect it. Lack of conservation policy, when there is no conservation policy. Okay, threatening effects of regional planning projects when there is a mega city development plan, smart city development plan, or many such of things. Town planning, some kind of threats or armed conflict, some kind of climatic, geological, environmental threatening impacts. So these are the possible dangers. Okay, if there are the possible dangers you identify, and if the site is World Heritage Site, is listed in the World Heritage Site with UNESCO, if the local authorities reach out to the UNESCO to do something, the UNESCO then approaches, UNESCO forms the committee and visits the site and generates the funding, and means seeks also funding from different sorts of time, and also make means a lot of planning, everything, so that the site can be preserved, maximum can be done. Okay, so yeah, and finally is the heritage conservation education. What we all do means we have to educate ourselves through this. Okay, so with this I will stop sharing, and I'll just give us just 2 minutes more. I want to share one more PDF, and I will share this PDF also with Dr. Vinod, so he can circulate. Yeah, is this PDF visible to all of us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so dear participants, please go through this the PDF. This is very informative PDF, how to give the access, how to create the access in the heritage sites. So I'll just quickly take you through this PDF. It has all the how best you can means place the guidelines for the access, how you can make the access for the differently able, access for the common visitors. Okay, so what kind of wheels, what kind of carts can be there, what kind of signages can be there, what kind of means walkway can be prepared. So this PDF is a very interesting, very informative PDF. Okay, you just have a look. If there is a tree, what to do, what kind of these blocks can be placed near the tree, so anyone like even the differently able, when they step on this, they will understand quickly that the next is there is a standing tree. Okay, something like that. Then the parking, how the parking area should be developed. Okay, what which way the entrance. Yeah, if this kind of battery operated the cars has to be placed, what should be the requirement, what should be the guidelines. So this all here very well. The if some if the ticketing center or the information center has to be developed, what are the guidelines, what one should do. Okay, so quickly I will just now close this. I will stop sharing this, and I'll share with Dr. Vinod. Yeah, but please go through this. This is very informative, very informative PDF. Okay, if the toilets or the all the loos and etc. nursing stations has to be built, what are the guidelines there, what modify not do, everything is there. Okay, so with this I will say stop this, and thank you all of you for patiently listening to this more than 1.5 hours, and be happy to take questions or comments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah. Audience, you may post your questions in the chat box. So shall I proceed towards the QA session, sir?
Yes.
Yes. So first question is from Ritish Kumar. He has appreciated your presentation, and then he is asking that, do you think a proper marketing strategy is being implemented or carried out to promote the heritage sites for generating revenues?
Yeah, many many like NGOs and the many parties now involved in promoting these kind of activities, heritage sites. And nowadays I'll see like many parties like UNESCO, not only that, INTAC is also involved in that. INTAC is also involved, and many I will tell you one thing, like one Khamir is one, but Khamir is not the right answer for that. What is the question? Means are the there are, I know that there are certain means the heritage institutions who are looking into that, and also I'll tell you one thing, that the many corporate institutions have their CSR responsibilities, corporate social responsibilities, so they are also means helping in, and so many NGOs are also means approaching to these corporates to help in the building some kind of marketing strategies, so where they can means attract more and more visitors, can build some kind of revenue generation activities. So these all are there.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Shalini, and it is under the umbrella of management. When heritage corridors are created, it may lead to alteration or removal of structures. Does this act compromise the authenticity of the heritage structure?
Certainly, but we have to also take care of that as a part of means development. We also need development. Who said that only the broken pieces and structures, okay, that only gives the authenticity to the heritage site? Okay, and means it is not that the heritage sites cannot be developed. Heritage sites can be, as a proper planning of, suppose a town planning has to happen, a smart city has to be built. Obviously, there will be certain alterations, but we have to look for the alterations or modifications in a permissible range, and where you have to bring in the different stakeholders, the heritage professionals, the government officials, and many means parties, academicians, okay, environmentalists. Also, suppose I'll tell you one here in Ahmedabad, where I am, this thing, the metro construction is going on. So metro construction is also passing through many heritage sites, many heritage monuments. So how much sound it will generate, it should not means damage the stability of the old monuments. So everyone, you see the 300 pages, they have chalked out a concrete plan, how much means noise will be created, how much pollution will be generated, how far will be the station, how much vibration due to the metro movement will be there. Everything will be taken care of, and then you have to plan, means build, means you do the plan in such a way so that the heritage sites can also benefit from that. Okay, but suppose I have to demolish one monument to create a road, that is not means acceptable. That is not acceptable. If there is a monument and we have to means demolish to create a road, okay, so you have to find a road, okay, that means from nearby, so that the monument can be protected. And that is why my means telling you in the beginning is that we have to convert many unprotected sites into protected sites. If the unprotected sites become the protected sites, then you have the voice also. Look, this site has some means some value, because the otherwise what will happen, the unprotected sites, many will say, consider it as of no value, not such a significant value, and can be demolished for the development. Okay, so unprotected sites, if we convert into protected sites, then government will also think twice before means thinking of any management plan. And also like it's not just the government, you have to, there are also the other bodies, the public bodies, the other, the professionals, also the other stakeholders. They also take some time. What happens means, I am totally agree with you that what happens that in sometimes the city development or the area development, we see some kind of demolition takes place. So this happens. So there means negotiation and convincing, the understanding and attaching the importance and the value to the structure, to the site. Only then we can convince the government, because the government has to also develop. So best as the heritage professionals, how best we can convince the government to also let this structure intact, and the structure can also benefit from the development, so that the care is properly taken. Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
this
sir.
is a very little means mm, uh, conflicting issues actually.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Ankush. He says that your session was very informative, and his question is, do you really think that the illiteracy of locals will affect the untouched place or historic monuments?
Frankly speaking, I will tell you that more than the illiteracy, it is the literate ones that damage the site more. Illiteracy, the many like illiterate people, they when they visit to a monument, I have seen while I was working in many some of the monuments like Red Fort. So if you see the means someone who is coming from the very poor background, poor family, you will see they are very, very afraid of means doing any kind of like activities, like uh, mischiefs in the site. They will be very, very careful. What I am seeing, especially the educated ones, especially the who like to explore, explore more. So they will scratch. Okay, this building looks good, so let's scratch and see. And who writes? Tell me one thing. You will see in many Indian monuments the graffiti. Okay, many graffiti you will see of different kinds. Who writes the graffiti? The illiterate ones, they don't write the graffiti. It is that we educated ones write our names there. We etch our names in the plaster, and that deface the entire surface. So more than illiteracy, it is the common sense, it is the awareness about the value, about the importance of the heritage site and monument. Okay, that is lagging. So we need a drive, awareness drive, rather than illiteracy. That's what I can sense, that it is the awareness drive that is more required, so that everyone understands that the importance of the structure, and they feel the belongingness. They have a sense of belongingness, that this structure, this heritage sites also belong to us, and we are equally stakeholders, and we must not do any mischievous activity to that.
Yes, sir. Very true, sir. That's a tragic reality what you spoke about. So the next question is from Abhishek Kumar. What is your views on heritage crime? Is there any government agencies which is dedicated to overcome such problems?
Yeah. So heritage related crime is what, like the smuggling or encroachment, you mean? So
Yes, just even heritage crime. Yes,
okay,
not
so
elaborate.
I will answer. If it is the encroachment is also like a crime.
Yes.
Encroachment, like slowly you are occupying this space, protected space, that is a crime. And therefore, like there is a many cities where the ancient heritage sites are there. Means the municipality or the government has to develop a heritage bylaws. Heritage bylaws means have to clearly chalk out the plan that the near to 100 meters or 300 meters, there should be no construction, and there should be also penalty fixed. Okay, all sort of things. I'm telling you that many heritage I have seen in Delhi, there are many heritage laws are already in place, but still we see the encroachments, occupants occupying the space, and all those kind of things happen. But since there is no penalty and there's dereliction somewhere, and so that there is the infiltrators actually, they gets emboldened. They occupy the illegal occupants, they become emboldened with that, because there is no penalty is laid out, but this is not executed. That is the problem. Regarding the smuggling, we have the international conventions also. Suppose something is smuggled to some other country, so the UNESCO will come into the picture. And we have also through the UNESCO we can convince, we have to document fully well, we have to show proper documentation that this object belonged to India and someone is smuggled from India, so that retrieval process can be facilitated. So we have illicit traffic trade and trafficking act, UNESCO illicit Trade and Trafficking Act in place, plus the Archaeological Survey of India also have this duty of looking at the smuggling and crimes, and we have also the income tax, the criminal investigation department. So the income tax, criminal investigation department, and the archaeological side of India, the vigilance department, so they also take care of that. So they look into that. They have this thing is in place. Okay.
Yes. So the next question is from Rajini Kumari. All stakeholders are doing a lot for heritage management, but sometimes film industry showcase wrong information about history. How to control it?
See, one thing is that, this is a democratic country, so we have to give them liberty. We have to give the liberty to the filmmakers. If they want to use the heritage sites, say for example like Red Fort or any fort, any temple, historical temple, and do the shooting there, so we have to give them within certain restrictions, we have to allow them to shoot. Actually this also builds some kind of revenue. Now it is the government censor board. Okay, it is not at the shooting level, because if you block everyone at the shooting level, how the filmmakers and all the artists will function? We cannot do that. Okay, so we must not block that. Instead we should encourage them to do whatever they want to do. Okay, in the limited with the certain restrictions, given certain restrictions in place. It is the responsibility of the censor board to have a historian and to have some other stakeholders also on the board to have a fair judgment of the correct interpretation of the history or not. If that happens at the censor board, okay, then we don't have any problem. Whosoever wants to think whatever, okay, if it is not presented to public, we should not have a problem.
Yes, thank you, sir. So the next question is from Dr. Michael Samanasan. Is there any need for the government to follow the guidelines of UNESCO to be recognized worldly?
Can you just come again, please?
Is there any need for the government to follow the guidelines of UNESCO to be recognized worldly?
Yes, definitely. Some like the heritage conventions, okay, the UNESCO conventions, that since we are the signing party, okay, of that convention, so the India is also a signing party of the convention, so that becomes binding to us. Okay, so UNESCO has certain laid out rules and conventions, and that is binding to all the parties which have signed the convention. So by that signature, the India signature, India is also a party, and India has to follow the UNESCO guidelines and conventions. So if we have to bring some make some structure into the as a World Heritage Site, okay, we have to look for UNESCO. We cannot on our own declare that World Heritage Site or do anything. Suppose I'll tell you one thing more. Suppose there is a World Heritage Site and World Heritage status has been given by UNESCO. UNESCO has listed that. Now we want to do some kind of alterations to that. So we have to report to UNESCO, okay, and we have to follow the UNESCO's convention. So UNESCO convention is binding to all the signed countries.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So we have the last question. It's once again from Ankush. What to do if locals are not supporting to promote the place and they want to keep the place untouched especially in case of religion and community issue?
See, regarding those, this is not the exception. This is a general situation where the many religious premises, they want to take care of themselves. The community wants to take care of themselves. That is okay. So these kind of sensitive sites and issues should be handled very, very carefully. And government can through the awareness, through the like suppose government wants to make a committee for the care of a particular monument, a particular site, a particular temple. Okay, so if the government brings also the community member part of that committee, so that actually eases the any decision making process. Otherwise, always you will have a conflicting a confrontation situation with the committee. If like government it's on its own adopts and policies, okay, so that will be always in the confrontation with the committee. So especially those kind of sensitive where the religious sensitivities are there, okay, government has to take handle those very carefully and through the proper consultation and through also bringing the committee member to participate in the decision making process. So if you bring the committee member in the decision making process, so that eases the decision making. So that I can only tell you. Otherwise, these issues are very, very sensitive issues, and this is general everywhere in every city we have this kind of problem wherever the ancient monuments are.
Thank you, sir. These are the questions we have. I would like to thank you for this wonderful session, especially focusing on cultural heritage sites. Be it your yesterday's session and today's session, both these has become an excellent session for us. We have enjoyed a lot. We have learned a lot. As you can go through the chat box, you will find a lot of appreciations pulling in. So thank you for this wonderful session, sir. It was really insightful and an eye-opener for all of us here who are not aware about the heritage sites that are still existing in India and real monuments of India. So thank you, sir. On behalf of the management and the organizing committee and Atal Academy, I thank you for being with us for these 2 days, sharing wonderful sessions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.
Dear participants, we are going for a lunch break now. The session will resume at 2:15, which will be the technical session 9, where we have Dr. Annamalai speaking on heritage management and emergency medical care. The attendance link has been posted in the chat box. Please fill in the attendance link. As you know very well, the attendance link will remain open for next 15 minutes. We insist all of you to join the session, that is technical session 9, by 2 o'clock. Thank you, audience, for your participation. My special appreciation and thanks to the participants who have interacted with the resource person. I could repeatedly see people coming and joining the interaction and making the seminar conference so lively. Thank you, and my appreciation to you all once again. So we are closing the meet here. The meet will resume back at 2 p.m. Thank you.